Hello everyone, how are you? Well, it's English today and it's the English lesson. You are with Miss Zaituni and of course we are proceeding with the topic of fantasy stories. Fantasy stories, are you ready? Yay! Good! My students are ready to discuss with Miss Zaituni the fantasy stories. Well, before starting the lesson, I would like us to sing the lavender song so that we become more charm. Let's sing. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When I'm the king, dilly dilly, you shall be queen. Who told you so, dilly dilly, who told you so? 'Twas my own heart, dilly dilly, that told me so. Very good! I like it. Oh, let's not forget that we are discussing fantasy stories. Let's discuss a bit of what's a fantasy story. Do you remember? Yay, good! Fantasy stories are those stories which are imaginary things. They are imaginary. They cannot happen in the real sense. Of course. Can an animal speak? Of course no. Is there a wonderland? No. Is there a person who has ears like those of donkeys? No, those are imaginary things. And of course, the settings of that story must also be an imaginary. It's imaginary. It's just a story that tells you something for relaxing or enjoyment. But there's nothing real in that story. Guess what? Today we are going to read a new story. What's that story? Oh my goodness. Just wait and see. Oh, our story is called Ayos Surprise. Can you all see? Yes, Ayos Surprise. Let's read together and see the fantasy, the imaginary things in this ayos story. I told you the characters are imaginary, the actions that are happening there are imaginary, even the setting of that story is also an imaginary. That's a fantasy story. Let's read this story of Ayos Surprise and see if it's a fantasy story. Yes, good. Ayos Surprise. The story is called Ayos Surprise. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Ayo. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Ayo. There is a full stop over here. A full stop tells us to put a pause. We take a short break before proceeding with this next sentence. Yes. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Ayo. One day she was playing with her ball in the garden when it rolled behind the shed. One day she was playing with her ball in the garden when it rolled behind the shed. She squeezed behind the shed to get it. She squeezed behind the shed to get it. To get what? To get the ball. Suddenly, there was a bright light. Suddenly, there was a bright light. She could see the shed. Oh, sorry. She could not see the ball and she could not see the shed. She could not see the ball and she could not see the shed. She stood up. Yes, she stood up. Where was she? She was asking herself, where was she? She had walked into a new world. She must be dreaming. She looked behind her and could see the garden. She looked in front of her and saw dash dash. I will read for the second time and then we're going to discuss the story of Ayo, how fantasy it is. Ayo's surprise. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Ayo. One day, she was playing with her ball in the garden when it rolled behind the shed. She squeezed behind the shed to get it. Suddenly, there was a bright light. She could not see the ball and she could not see the shed. She stood up. Where was she? She had walked into a new world. She must be dreaming. She looked behind her and could see the garden. She looked in front of her and saw dash dash. Can you guess? What did she see? Can you tell me? Discuss with your partner. What do you think Ayo saw when she looked in front? That's an activity. I'm leaving it to you. Now let's see how the story of Ayo is a fantasy story. Ayo was playing with her ball in the garden. Unfortunately, the ball went behind the shed. When she reached there, she could not see the ball, or she couldn't see the shed. What happened is just the bright light. Oh, a bright light. Where is the bright light coming from? And she was asking, where is she? Oh, she must be dreaming. Of course, it's very impossible for a person just to go somewhere and see nothing. And in that new world, it's only bright light. There's nothing. There was no ball, there was no shed. That is the fantasy, imaginary things. Can you go behind, assume you are playing in the garden and your ball went somewhere behind the shed. And then you go and you want to go and pick your ball and then you don't see there. What you can see, it's only light. If you turn back, you can see the garden. But when you look in front, you see nothing. That's what's so-called fantasy story. Imaginary things. They cannot happen in real. In real sense, they are not there. What do you think Ayo saw when she turned in front? What do you think? Now discuss with your partner. Listen to his or her idea. Yes, you can predict what Ayo saw. I'm leaving as an assignment to you, and then it's all about Ayo's surprise. Discuss with your friend what Ayo saw when she looked in front and the other exercises. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. See you next time. Bye.